Mr. President, ministers and ambassadors, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to express my warmest congratulations to the Second Assembly of the Arctic Circle. Initiated only last year by President Grimson, the Circle has attracted people from all walks of life around the globe. This shows the growing attention of the international community on the Arctic affairs, as well as the timely needs of the creation of such forum for broad-based discussions on Arctic issues. It is my great pleasure to attend this assembly this year and introduce to you the China-Nordic cooperation. I will elaborate on three aspects: the status quo of the cooperation, the reason for the fruitful cooperation, and the outlook of the cooperation. Status quo, fruitful cooperation. China's engagement in the Arctic is closely related to those of the Nordic countries. The history can date back to 1925, when China became a party to the Spitsbergen Treaty. China set up the first scientific research station in Arctic, the Yellow River Station on Svalbard, Norway, in 2004. And in recent years, China-Nordic Arctic cooperation has advanced in a multi-level and wide-ranging manner. In terms of scientific cooperation, China has close communication and coordination with all Nordic countries in the Arctic Council. Arctic issues are high on the agenda of the high-level meetings between China and Nordic countries. Bilateral dialogues or consultations on Arctic issues are carried out between China and most Nordic countries. In 2012, China and Iceland reached the framework agreement between the two governments on Arctic cooperation and the Memorandum of Understanding on cooperation in the fields of marine and polar science and technology. The framework agreement is the first legal instrument signed between China and a Nordic country in this aspect. In terms of scientific cooperation, frequent interaction and close cooperation between the research institutes and experts of both sides have brought forth a number of important achievements. Initiated by Chinese and Iceland research institutions and with the strong support from relevant agencies of other Nordic countries, China Nordic Arctic Research Center was set up in Shanghai, China, 2013. Two China-Nordic Arctic Cooperation Symposia have been organized by the center. In 2012, the Chinese scientific research vessel Xuelong successfully visited Iceland on its trial through the Arctic sea routes. Research institutes from China and Nordic countries carried out cooperation through signing MOUs, holding symposia, and two-way visit, etc., in all relevant fields such as research and forecasting of sea ice, glaciers and ice core research, aurora observation and research, meteorological technology, the Arctic and Tibetan Plateau Third Pole research. Recently, China-Nordic Arctic cooperation is increasingly expanding from research area to economic area, like shipbuilding, shipping, and resource development. In 2012, Arctic Technology from Finland won the bid for the design of a new Chinese icebreaker. In 2014, the Costco container Lines Cooperation Limited signed a cooperation agreement with Amescape of Iceland. The contract on cooperative exploration on the Arctic continental shelf by CNOOC and ICON was signed in the same year. Furthermore, Chinese enterprises are also involved in resource development in Greenland, Denmark. Reason: solid foundation. It is worth noting that China's engagement in Arctic-related activity is still limited in coverage and depth, focusing mostly on scientific research. The fruitful cooperation with Nordic countries at such an early stage is a result of a sound basis for Arctic cooperation, which can be summarized as the following 3 C's: consensus and mutual trust as a political basis. China and Nordic countries have reached consensus in relation to the legal framework and governance applied to the Arctic, sharing the same political will in enhancing Arctic cooperation. China respects the sovereignty, sovereign rights, and jurisdiction in the Arctic region of the Arctic states, of course, including the Nordic countries, and respects the current legal framework and governance system in the Arctic. Likewise, the Nordic countries give due recognition to the legitimate rights in the Arctic of non-Arctic countries, including China, and other stakeholders in accordance with international law, and take an open attitude towards China's involvement in Arctic affairs, in particular, the settlement of trans-regional issues like climate change. Complementarity and mutual benefit as material conditions. China and Nordic countries differ in size, population, climate, and historical and cultural background. And these differences result in strong complementarity. Nordic countries have an edge on Arctic technology and research. China has made some progress in its studies on high-altitude physics, the climate change, ecology, and ocean in the Arctic, with a growing interest and needs for Arctic scientific research. The two sides also enjoy complementarity and mutual benefit in economic sectors as trade and shipping. Confidence and interaction as driving force. Sound bilateral relations, economic complementarity, and good scientific cooperation give rise to the strong confidence of the two sides for other Arctic-related cooperation, as well as growing exchanges and interaction between local communities, businesses, and civil societies of the two sides. And this is inexhaustible internal driving force for future China-Nordic Arctic cooperation. Looking for the future, outlook, promising future. As a near-Arctic state, China is affected in a major way by the natural changes, economic developments, and social changes in the Arctic, as reflected in China's climate, ecological environment, agricultural production, as well as social and economic development. And therefore, China has growing interest in Arctic affairs in recent years. With the accelerated melting of ice and snow in the Arctic, China begins to pay attention to the potential profound impact that may be brought by opening Arctic shipping lanes and the developing of the Arctic. China is ready to further strengthen mutually beneficial cooperation with Arctic countries in relevant fields and contribute to tackling the trans-regional challenge in the Arctic and promoting sustainable development of the Arctic. I believe the following principles should be followed to deepen and broaden Arctic cooperation. First, leading role of political guidance. China will maintain its status as a near-Arctic state and enhance trust while expanding consensus through policy exchange with Arctic countries, we should promote Arctic cooperation in line with the common aspiration of all sides by providing political guidance and addressing mutual understandings and differences in a timely manner. Second, safeguard by reliable mechanism. We should continue to improve and strengthen the multilateral and bilateral mechanisms related to the Arctic. Institutional safeguard and predictability should be enforced for all sides to take part in Arctic cooperation. China will continue to put equal emphasis on bilateral and multilateral Arctic cooperation, with active participation in relevant multilateral mechanisms such as the Arctic Council and bilateral cooperation with Arctic countries. Third, motivation from civil society. To build a strong and broad-based social foundation for Arctic cooperation, we should continue to enhance the interaction and exchanges between research institutes, enterprises, and civil societies. The Chinese government will guide its private sector to follow the domestic laws of Arctic countries concerned and relevant international treaties in conducting Arctic activities, taking fully into account the ecological environment, interests and concerns of the indigenous people, and combining its economic interest with the welfare of the local community. Ladies and gentlemen, there is the old Chinese saying about two wise men should work together to achieve a win-win result. With global vision and strategic wisdom, Arctic countries, along with non-Arctic countries, including China, can work hand in hand to make best use of all the resources to meet the challenges and promote Arctic cooperation for the benefit of all the stakeholders. China's engagement in the Arctic is still in its early stage, and it is still exploring the best way and areas to participate and play a constructive role in the Arctic affairs. It is an ice-breaking journey. China is ready to have a pragmatic cooperation with all Arctic countries. China-Nordic Arctic cooperation is part of this exploration and a good example. When the cooperation deepens with time, fact will speak for itself that in Arctic, we come in peace, we come with goodwill, and we come for cooperation. Thank you for your attention.